Everyone, and welcome back to Portraits of Atlanta. I'm your host today, Chris Lazarus, with a good friend of mine here as our guest and fraternity brother.
That's right.
Adam Casey. Now, Adam is a vice principal at Tritt Elementary School here in East Cobb, which is right down the street from our Select Realty studio. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris, for having me today.
It's good catching up.
It is good catching up. It's been a while.
It has. And, just getting the chance to kind of sit down, have a coffee, and talk a little bit about our community is always fun. So I want to, just introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name is Adam Casey. I am currently the assistant principal at Tritt Elementary School. I actually moved to Georgia, to Cobb County in 1984. I was just a couple months old.
Ooh, wow. Got me beat.
Yeah. So grew up in Cobb, graduated from Laster High School, and graduated from Kennesaw State. And I started working, teaching right out of college back in Cobb County. So full circle, back home. My wife and I moved back to Cobb County. We live just down the street from here as well, over in Laster School District, and love everything about it.
So, do you get any pokes and prods living in a rival school district?
It's hard. The community's great, but anytime there's a Pope versus Laster, anything, it is a struggle. Whether I'm a Greyhound or a Trojan that night, it's a struggle.
That's funny, yeah. Because we live in the Pope High School District, so we're in the district pretty close to where you teach. So, Adam, what got you into teaching?
When I was in fourth grade, my teacher, Miss Foote at Rocky Mount Elementary School, she has since retired, but she was one of the most patient, most kind, most big-hearted teachers that I've ever had, and I really had a connection with her that year, and she really inspired me to be teaching, and then to be a teacher. And then on top of that, my family is very involved in education as well. I've got some college professors. My aunt's a former assistant principal. So education is kind of in my background, in my blood. No kidding. That sounds like it. Yeah.
So did they push you down that track, or was that something that was genuinely a passion of yours that you just kind of went into?
No, I've always enjoyed working with kids and making sure that any time that the kids were around, whether that's in Sunday school, at church, or in my classroom, it was a safe place for students to learn and be themselves and continue to grow.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And, having educators like you in our community is one of the things that makes our community, in my opinion, one of the best places to live.
Absolutely.
So you're in the Lassiter District. What are some of the things that you like to do when you're not teaching?
When I'm not teaching, you can usually find me around town at visiting the local restaurants, and I love going to downtown Roswell, just walking around, hanging out. That's kind of my go-to spot recently. They've done a lot of great work down there. Got some friends who live down there, so we're often downtown Roswell. But I love just that Laster-Shallowford intersection right there seems to be where I find myself the most, whether it's at Publix or at WZ or Paradise Grill. That's usually where you can find me.
That seems like we're kind of operating on similar wavelengths, because that's right down the street from our office.
Right.
So WZ, Paradise Grill, and Paradise South, you can't go wrong with either.
Can't go wrong.
They're great lunch spots. Then you've got across the street, you've got Marlowe's and.
That's right, and the new development that they're building. It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait.
Got some great stuff.
Yeah, so that was, what was the middle school that they...
It was Mountain View Elementary School.
Mountain View Elementary, yeah. They sold that for $14 million. It was just over $1 million an acre,
right,
to redevelop that. And now they've got Jim and Nick's Barbecue going in.
First Watch, brunch place.
They're doing a First Watch there?
Yeah.
Wow, man, I haven't had that since we lived over in Woodstock.
Right.
Because they had one downtown Kennesaw, mm-hmm, right there near Busby and Cherokee Street. Mm-hmm. Or not Busby, Giles, yeah. So, man, that's awesome that's going in. They've got a veterinary practice going in. It seems like around us, right here, at least by the studio, there's a ton of development.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see that, because that's just going to bring in more families and make the community even better.
We'd love that. So, outside of the restaurants, what are some of the, because I could sit here and talk about restaurants all day long. I really could, because there's so many great choices, especially here in East Cobb. And I'm not talking franchises.
Sure.
Because we've got a lot of small operations that may, First Watch, there's only a couple of locations here in town. But then we've got like WZ, that's a Wing Zone franchise. Paradise is not a franchise.
Right.
Marlowe's is a small company. You've got so many different options here that you can choose, but like outside of that, like what are some of your things to do on the weekends that you just absolutely enjoy doing around here?
Yeah, I mean, I love supporting the local small businesses, and whether that's going to a movie at Park 12 just because it's close and convenient and it still feels like home.
That's a Georgia theater company.
It is, but it's locally owned. I mean, he's in our community, and so that's, even though it's a franchise, it's still part of our community. The Art Place does some amazing programs and performances there. They've got some a great outdoor facility for concerts like On the Green that they do a lot of. So it's just I just love jumping in wherever an opportunity is.
That's awesome. Well, Adam, these are the things that we absolutely love about getting to know people in our community. Tell me like, in your position as assistant principal, like what's one thing that you absolutely love other than just being the kids? Do you have like a success story or something that is something that you're really passionate about within your role?
Yeah, I think, of course there's the everyday operations that assistant principals I think do. We try to give our principals the ability to lead without barriers and set the vision for the school. And we want to do everything as assistant principals to help clear that way operationally so that they can do that. But when we do have some extra time during the day, one thing that I do at Tritt, and I've done at some other schools that I've been at as a teacher as well, is leadership development with students. And so we've used different programs, but a lot of times in elementary schools, I've seen the student councils. And in a couple schools, when I started working there, they were, voting for class president and doing all this. And I thought at the time in elementary school, it's great to learn about that process, but there has to be a better way. And so what I've kind of done in a few of the schools that I've worked in is I've changed that student council to a student leadership team.
Really?
Yeah. And so I've done it in 3 schools now. And I think it's great because it really empowers students to make some decisions that affect the school. And we do give them an opportunity to share their likes, their dislikes, their areas of improvement. And I think as an administration, you have to be open to hearing from the students because they're your clients. They're the ones that you want to work with. So leadership development is a huge component of my job responsibility that I don't think is listed on a job description when you're applying for a job.
That's fantastic. And that's a huge thing, especially with where everything is going for jobs and the internet and how college degrees now, like if you're going into marketing, like by the time you're done with your degree, it's already outdated.
That's right.
So to have those skills, to be able to self-motivate or self-lead, like that's indispensable. So kudos to you and your team for putting that together. And you said 3 schools. Mm-hmm. So you're at Tritt now. Where else did you do this?
I'm at Tritt Elementary now. I started teaching at Rocky Mount Elementary, which is it splits between Mabry and Simpson and then back to Lassiter. So that's the feeder pattern for Rocky Mount. And then my first job out of the classroom, I was assistant principal for 3 years at Hightower Trail Middle School, which is a poke feeder. Right down the street. And then after I was at Hightower for about 3 years, Tritt actually got an additional assistant principal. It's grown. Mm-hmm. And so the cutoff at this time for another assistant principal is 850 students. So Tritt was reached above 850 students, and so they got an additional allotment for an assistant principal. And so I wanted to get back into the elementary field, mm-hmm. and so I went from Hightower Trail to Tritt, which is a feeder pattern school. So it was great because I knew the families, I knew the community well, and it was just it's been a great fit for the past 2 years. This will be my 3rd year at Tritt.
Portraits of Atlanta is sponsored by Select Realty. Select Realty is proud to present Honest Offers. Honest Offers is more than just an instant cash offer on your home. We let you know how much you profit when you sell by owner, traditionally, or a cash offer. With Honest Offers, you'll know which selling method is right for you, the way you want to sell. We're revolutionizing home sales with Honest Offers. Contact us at 770-509-0265 or go to selectrealty.com with 2 L's in the word sell.
So, middle school versus elementary school.
Very different.
Yeah, obviously. We've all been there.
Yeah, we have.
What's the difference from the educator's role in being in those two different environments?
You have to think differently as a elementary educator versus a middle school educator. In elementary school, a lot of the times the subjects are very interdisciplinary. You're with a group of students all day. Mm-hmm. They may leave for a segment of classes. They may go out for science or they might go out for math. But for the most part, you've got your class all day. And you have to get out of the thinking of a subject silo where I'm going to teach, math for an hour and then science for an hour and then writing for an hour.
That's how it was when I was a kid.
Exactly. And that thinking has to change. And now what we have to do is work more interdisciplinary to where you've got these kids all day. How can you teach them and intermingle those subjects and those disciplines so that they're constantly learning and they can see how those disciplines overlap and intertwine?
Nice.
Yeah. In middle school, it changes with your certification. Mm-hmm. So your language arts teachers or your math teachers, they are subject matter experts. They're highly qualified in that content area. They have a certification in math, a certification in science. So they're able to dig a little deeper than perhaps elementary teacher might be able to. And that's why those subjects are still taught in the subject silos, and they can dig a little deeper in isolation.
Wow, that's... You saying that, I just relived all of my childhood.
Yeah. But there's still PE, so don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good to know because, I'm sure somebody listening is like, well, what are they doing with PE and music and all that stuff? But, things like that, learning how to think like that came later. Mm-hmm. Much later because everything was, this is math.
That's right.
This is science. This is reading. It didn't all mix together. So, figuring out, how math applies to business, right? That didn't really hit until, high school and into college.
That's right.
So that's incredible that y'all are starting there so early. What are some challenges that y'all are facing now?
Well, the challenge always comes with we're very fortunate, I will say, in this community. I was trying to come up with a great sentence of the challenges could be, but that's really hard to do. Yeah. We're very, very, very fortunate. We live in a great community with supportive parents. We have a supportive PTA, a supportive foundation, and that's been at all the schools that I've worked at. Yeah. And they have helped to remove the challenges that may come as best as they can.
Really?
They really do. And I think, as the community changes, we're getting storage units, and we're seeing some things. We'd rather have houses and more community built up, but there's not a lot of challenges in this area that I see. We're very fortunate. So
if somebody is living here, they have kids going to school in this area, and how can they get involved? What would be your recommendation or some advice if they wanted to get involved with their local PTA or anything like that?
Most of the PTAs and school foundations around here have very good websites with details and links that say, how do I get involved? If you're just moving to the area, the first thing to do would be to reach out to the schools that you are interested in, or those areas that you're interested in moving into. I would start with the high school, because you need to get a feel for the end result. Because a lot of the schools that feed into the high schools, they have a similar culture. That's the culture of the community that kind of leads up to that high school.
Okay.
But if you've got young kids and you're moving into the area, you can definitely reach out to the elementary schools. Most of them offer a tour. We have somebody dedicated at Tritt to give school tours.
Really?
And so she does tours a couple times a week. So you call, you reach out, you make an appointment, you come, you take a school tour. The one thing that I don't recommend, which I see often, is people post on Facebook and they say, I'm moving into this school district. What are the pros and cons? And the people on Facebook, as great as they are, they're going to be very one-sided. And getting a list of pros and cons with 56 to 75 comments about the pros and cons in elementary school, that's not going to apply to you. So I would really, really push reaching out directly to the schools and talking to the administrators, talking to the school counselors, getting a school tour, because when you step into a school, you can feel instantly if it's the right place or not for you.
That's great advice, because as a real estate agent, and my role is I am the broker of Select Realty. So fair housing does not let us talk much about the communities in which people want to live. We have to advise them, do your research. We can give them resources where they can go to do their research. But even now, like, school districts can be used in fair housing. Like, you can't bring up, what's a good school district or not. That's subjective, and it has to be, up to the individual client. So I think that's fantastic advice. If you're looking to move into a community, definitely do what Adam says. Set up a tour. Figure out whether or not that's a good culture, whether or not that's going to be the end result. Start with the high school, work your way down, figure out if the community is where you want to be, and go from there. Because as a real estate professional, we can no longer say, this is a good school district or not. We can give you resources, but that's about it. So, Adam, I've got young kids.
Yep.
Okay. My son will be starting kindergarten this fall.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Any advice?
Any advice
for an incoming kindergartner?
Sure.
The parent of.
The parent of. I can give some advice. The first thing I would say as an incoming kindergarten parent is make sure that your son or daughter knows how they're getting home on the first day of school. That's the most important thing. Make sure the teacher knows. Make sure that whether you're picking them up, they're riding the bus, whatever it is, they're walking, make sure that is over-communicated. Because the first day of school is the craziest. And it's our goal that first day to get them in, get them fed, get them home. And have some fun in between.
Don't miscount.
Like, that's right.
Come in with 12, leave with 12.
Exactly. So that's the first day jitters. But also make sure that you trust the school that you have chosen to move into or that your students are enrolling in. You're not going to agree with every decision, but they've done this a long time. They have a reason that they're doing this. It's not to say that you can't question it. It's not to say that you can't shoot your teacher an email and say, I don't understand why this is happening or anything like that, but just trust the school and trust the system and trust the county that you've picked to move into, that you've chosen to enroll your son or daughter into. Just trust it and give them a little bit of time. As an incoming kindergarten parent, you're going to have so many questions, and it's going to happen, and that's okay. Find somebody who works in the school district and bounce some questions off of them.
I may be sending you a bunch of texts.
I'm here for you. It's fine. I'm here for you.
Well, that's awesome. Adam, before we start wrapping up, we do a thing on the Portraits of Atlanta podcast. This is our speed round.
Okay.
And I'm going to set a timer. We've got, we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions we're going to try and get through and just answer them as fast as you can.
Okay.
All right. And let me change this to something that's not going to give it a decent sound. Let's just do a classic alarm. There we go. Alarm. Perfect. You hear that? We're done.
All right.
And here we go. Adam, what's your favorite way to spend a weekend?
Seeing movies and eating out.
What type of music are you into?
All types of music.
Oh, come on.
I can't. Seriously.
What was the best vacation you ever took and why?
Hawaii honeymoon.
Where's the next place on your travel bucket list and why?
Probably like Maine, Rhode Island. Why? It's beautiful.
What are your hobbies and how did you get into them?
Hobbies are music, and I've grown up around music all my life. I sing in a gospel quartet.
Gospel quartet. Nice.
You're wasting my time. Keep going.
Okay, what was your favorite age growing up?
Ooh, probably high school.
What was the last thing you read digitally or in print?
New York Times.
Would you say you're more of an extrovert or introvert?
That's hard. Most people would say extrovert. I think I'm more of an introvert.
What's your favorite ice cream topping?
Ooh, topping? No toppings, just vanilla plain.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
You stole my time.
I stole your time. We'll have to have you back.
All right. Sounds good.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us here on Portraits of Atlanta.
This is great, Chris.
Thank you so much. For everybody listening in, I want to give a big thank you to Select Realty and the Select Realty Studios for helping us put this on. If you want to get in touch with Adam, you can find him on Twitter at Adam Casey, CASEY AP, like assistant principal.
That's exactly what it is.
Perfect. Awesome. Adam, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't had a chance, go to iTunes and subscribe so that you can hear us every week on Portraits of Atlanta. Leave us a 5-star review, follow us on Facebook, or go to our website, portraitsofatlanta.com. Have a great day, everyone.
Portraits of Atlanta is sponsored by Select Realty. Select Realty is proud to present Honest Offers. Honest Offers is more than just an instant cash offer on your home. We let you know how much you profit when you sell by owner, traditionally, or a cash offer. With Honest Offers, you'll know which selling method is right for you, the way you want to sell. We're revolutionizing home sales with Honest Offers. Contact us at 770-509-0265 or go to selectrealty.com with 2 L's in the word sell.